Hello, Bill Parrish here from Portland, Oregon, and the subject of this video is college savings plans, or 529 plans. Now, these can be very confusing to parents, but they're a terrific thing to do for your child, whether they go to college or not. Examine this graph, which basically shows that all things equal, by being in one of these plans, saving into it, you'll have 25 to 35% more assets for your child when they reach the age of 21. And the reason is that all the gains in these plans are not just tax deferred, they're tax free if they go for college. So if I start a plan today and I contribute to it every year, again, all those gains, if the ultimate distributions go for college, are tax free. Some people think these are like IRA plans, but they're better because when you have an IRA, when you ultimately take distributions, those distributions are taxed, whereas the 529 distributions are never taxed. So it's a terrific benefit. What's important to recognize is that every state has a different plan, because when the 529 provision of the Internal Revenue Service Code was put forth to create this plan, it was left to the states to come up with their own plan. And you can imagine this is a pretty lucrative contract to get. So that's where politics kind of enters the situation. Some states chose vendors based on politics. Other states chose vendors based on what's in the parents' and kids' best interests. Some terrific plans include those of Pennsylvania and Nebraska. Vanguard uses the Pennsylvania plan. TD Ameritrade uses the Nebraska plan. And sadly, other states have chosen very poor plans, and politics has entered. One is Illinois. There's been a lot of politics in Illinois. Here's a picture of their governor, and who's apparently doing something else now. And here in Oregon, we had our state treasurer, Randall Edwards, making the same choice that Illinois made with respect to Oppenheimer. Now, Oppenheimer's been very controversial because here in Oregon we have a lot of parents that thought they were in a conservative fund, as in Illinois, and the fund dropped very significantly. And what I find astonishing is that Oppenheimer has a wholly owned subsidiary, Tremont, which basically lost $3 million on the Madoff scandal. They were one of the key feeder organizations for Madoff. Again, that's a wholly owned subsidiary of Oppenheimer. So that's going to affect Oppenheimer. And what on earth was Oregon doing with Oppenheimer as their key vendor in the college savings plan? Okay, again, Illinois made the same bad choice. The decision is being reviewed now by State Treasurer Ben Westland, who took office in January, and let's hope he picks a better vendor. Also keep in mind that even though every state has a different plan, you're not restricted in sticking with your own states. For instance, I live in Oregon. There's nothing to preclude me from setting up a college savings plan in Nebraska, Pennsylvania, or New York. Pick your state. In fact, I would give blanket advice to any parent in the Oregon plan to immediately open up an account. And you can do it online. You can go to Vanguard.com, go to TD Ameritrade, open a college savings account, put $10 in it, and transfer your assets out of Oregon's plan to one of those two choices, TD Ameritrade or Vanguard. I do that immediately. I do that tonight. I would go online again, set up an account. You're able to do that once a year. Just you could transfer your whole account balance. Okay? I would do that immediately. The observations I'll make about the 529 plans will be applicable to any state. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the key decisions you want to make with respect to 529 plan. The first most important decision is, do you set the account up under your name, the parent, or your child's name? Right? And what are the differences between the two? Most parents set it up under their name, and the idea being if your child doesn't go to college, those funds ultimately come back to you and they're taxed to you at your tax rate. Okay. But what if, when your child is 1, you set it up under their name? Okay. Well, if the child doesn't go to college, all those funds revert to them, but at their tax rate. So it's a terrific long-term savings vehicle, even if your child doesn't go to college. Let's assume you save every year into it. Your child becomes 21. They can take distributions over a 5-year period from that, and again, it'll be taxed at their tax bracket, which is likely to be much lower than the parents. Okay, let's look at the investment choices. Okay, basically, the way all these plans are set up is you have what are called target funds, which basically have a predetermined investment strategy based on your child's age. I would stay away from those completely. Then they have general funds in terms of parameters like aggressive, balanced, conservative. And then finally, the underlying specific funds. So for instance, if you look at the TD Ameritrade plan, which is a terrific plan, you'll see exactly that, age-weighted, and you'll see some general strategies such as growth, conservative, and then you'll see the actual specific funds grouped by bond fund, stock fund, etc. My advice is to go directly to those underlying funds and just make one decision. That's what you need to make as a parent, one decision, and that is what % in equities and what % in fixed income. That's the only decision you need to make, and a beautiful word is balance. So if you decide you want to be 50% in equities, 50% in fixed income, you can go right to those underlying funds. In the TD Ameritrade plan's case, the Vanguard funds, and you can see 3 fixed income funds, short, intermediate, and long-term indexed. And then on the equity side, you can see the domestic and international also indexed. Terrific. You can make that 50-50 and you're done. If you want to be a little more aggressive, maybe 80-20, you could use a dollar cost averaging strategy, but stay away from the target funds, would be my advice. A lot of articles are starting to appear about the target funds in these plans and also in retirement plans for adults, and they're basically showing tremendous discrepancies in terms of the definition of the targets. So why not stay away from that? That would be my advice. In 2004, I worked very hard to try and get the Oregon plan fixed after problems with the Strong plan, and the vendor selection process opened up again, and was stunned that Vanguard wasn't chosen. So we've got a new state treasurer in Oregon. His name's Ben Westland. Here's a photo of him. He wasn't a legislator a long time. He's a Democrat, and he's brought in another pension consultant to review this whole thing, which kind of amazes me because there are 50 states out there again, and there are a couple states with terrific plans, and I don't know why we just can't replicate that. But anyway, we'll see what happens. There's a selection process going on right now. The good news is there are some great plans out there. Pennsylvania has a terrific plan. That's what Vanguard uses. The TD Ameritrade plan is based on Nebraska. That's also a terrific plan. So I give blanket advice to all my clients to immediately close their Oregon College savings accounts and transfer the assets to, generally it's the TD Ameritrade plan. I don't receive any fees, direct or indirect, from TD Ameritrade, but again, Oregon has a terrible plan, and it's not worth taking the risk. A lot of investors last year were in conservative choices. They ended up bonds, and they ended up losing 40%. I wonder, how is that? And again, the Attorney General of the state of Oregon has instituted legal action against Oppenheimer. While other states have settled, he hasn't settled yet. And boy, if I were Oppenheimer, I wouldn't want to go up against John Kruger, because he's smart, he's tough, and he's determined to represent consumers. And that's a good thing. So again, here's some more information about my firm. Again, I accept no fees from any provider of investment products. I'd like to think this is a public service, and that no matter what state you're in, that this is very useful information. Again, you can contribute a significant amount. If you're an affluent person, you can put up to like almost a couple $100,000 into these college savings plans right off for a child. And you'll be restricted from contributing over the next 5 years. But again, you can put a lot of assets into these plans, and they're a terrific vehicle to prepare for your child's college education, or even if they don't go to college, to help them put some assets aside for their future. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a good week.